This video brought to you by Surfshark VPN.
Uploading.
Oh no, I know Hamlet. And what he might say with irony, I say with conviction. What a piece of work is man. How like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god.
Before we delve too deep into this, let's have a brief disclaimer and define our terms. If you're not interested, definitely click for the next chapter to bypass, but don't worry, this is going to be pretty quick. In short, an atheist, as I'm going to use the term for this video, is someone who lacks a belief in a god or gods, while a theist believes in a god or gods. Agnosticism speaks to the level of truth in the position. An agnostic atheist or an agnostic theist isn't sure if a god exists, but leans one way or the other. A Gnostic atheist or Gnostic theist is completely sure that a god doesn't exist, or I guess that a god does. Simply put, Picard is either a believer or an atheist. Now, he may be agnostic in one of those realms, but he's still one or the other. Agnosticism, for this video essay, is an adverb or adjective, not a noun. Okay, well, glad we got all that out of the way.
Are you suggesting you must go down to Mintaka 3?
Masquerading as a god?
Absolutely out of the question.
So, now the question for the essay remains. Is Picard one of the most poorly written atheist characters in all of Star Trek? It's interesting to ask this question given the diverse range of opinions on the matter. For some, Picard is a man of faith who believes deeply, and for others, he is the perfect anti-theist. I have to admit, if I'm being honest, Picard is the penultimate Starfleet officer for me. He is the ideal for what we strive to be. When looking at the best case scenario, Picard is the best of the best options. Sisko would be the more realistic of the best options, if that makes any sense. Which is why I am really disappointed in how Picard acts when it comes to religion. The captain's actions and dialogue really comes off as being written by someone who is a believer and has, I don't know, I guess a parody idea of what an atheist actually is. It's very 90s and early 2000s opinion on what an atheist believes. And I'll get into that in a bit more, but let's take a look at some of Picard's attributes. Stardate 74359. It's been weeks since I was sent down here by the Admiral. One can only presume that slowly I am succumbing to insanity in a house infested with Borg on a primitive planet with primitive people. It's been hard, but I've been figuring out how to make it work. And there have been mistakes. Alright, almost got it. Almost got it. Wait, what? Ha ha ha. Sid Alpha and the Black Pants Legion says hi. Don't mess with Tex.
Nuclear launch detected.
Oh no. Oh no! I probably should have used Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is a premier VPN that supports single dads trying to keep his daughters fed and keeps your online information and identity safe. With over 3,200 servers in 65 countries, you can go virtually anywhere you want with peace of mind knowing that no matter where you are or what network you are connected to, you're safe. Just imagine that you are out on the countryside of British-controlled France and laying around enjoying the beautiful vistas. You're confident in the fact that your information is being protected no matter where you are. But oh no, you wanted to watch something on Netflix and you find out that 1984 is no longer a book you read in grammar school, but real life. Luckily, as a free-loving person who is beautiful and gets everything they want in life, you have Surfshark. Hit only a couple of buttons and you are enjoying the free world's entertainment. Not only that, but I personally went to Surfshark's HQ. Somehow. Okay, maybe it was only in my mind, but I convinced them to give not 3 months this time, but 4 months. And you're still getting 83% off. This is an amazing deal that is a limited time offer. If you really enjoy this channel and you want to see it continue, then you have to click in the description below or in the comments. Use code LORE and get 83% off, plus 4 months. 4. You'll be getting the best VPN money can buy. Remember, helping the sponsors helps the channel. What do you do with a broken sailor? What do you do with the Brokens. Oh, hey! You woke up. Good. Good. It's time to go visit the Admiral.
This is the afterlife. And I'm God.
You are not God.
Blasphemy.
I am not dead. Because I refuse to believe that the afterlife is run by you. The universe is not so badly designed.
Considering the marvelous complexity of the universe, its clockwork perfection, its balances of this against that, matter, energy, gravitation, time, dimension.
When analyzing the career of Jean-Luc, we know that the captain sees order to the universe, that its existence and possibly even creation has a certain arrangement. Now, it's ironic that Picard is probably wrong. The universe, at least the real one, ironically has a lot of chaos to it, with only some systems becoming organized within the mix. But let's assume that we're talking about the Star Trek universe and things are largely uniform. It's not one-to-one to ours. While a uniform system could lead one to believe that there is intelligent design, it could also be argued that Picard merely recognizes that the galaxy's laws and rules work as they are intended. That perhaps the only way for this universe to exist is for the laws to act the way that they do. That doesn't mean a god created them, it just means that, well, everyone got incredibly lucky. And it is important to remember that when Picard was talking to Q, he was probably just trying to insult him as well.
Your Honor, Captain Picard, as a new visitor to my planet, has been a consistent doubter of my abilities.
Another curious attribute of Picard is to look at how he interprets information that's provided to him, as well as how he reacts to events. Analyzing the interaction with Q and quote-unquote heaven, as well as the episode Devil's Due, Picard generally looks to a rational explanation of occurrences over believing in things unseen. In Devil's Due specifically, Picard wonderfully deconstructs how quote-unquote Satan really never helped a planet even though she claimed to. He points out that when it came time to actually make change, when it came time for someone to do something, it was the populace of the planet that made the changes, not another deity. That the prosperity that was brought on was by the leaders and the people.
You do not believe my powers are real, do you?
No, I don't.
Then, sir, may I ask you to explain this?
You were out of order.
I am sorry, Your Honor, but can you explain it, Picard? Yes or no?
No.
Additionally, he admits that even though he doesn't know how this entity is doing everything that she's doing, he believes that there is a scientific explanation, that she's not some mythical creature that truly exists. Now, to be fair, these are all just instances of the man's reaction. We haven't really discussed any positive or negative claims made by him yet. They can give us information and an understanding of who he is, but it doesn't tell us what he believes. For that, there are two particular episodes in mind, specifically Who Watches the Watchers and, ironically, Pen Pals. We'll get to Pen Pals a little bit later.
Your report describes how rational these people are. Millennia ago, they abandoned their belief in the supernatural. Now you are asking me to sabotage that achievement, to send them back into the dark ages of superstition and ignorance and fear? No!
For those who have watched my channel for a decent amount of time, you know that Who Watches the Watchers is where I like to hang my hat when it comes to Picard. In this episode, Jean-Luc is completely open with how he feels. Now, if I'm going to be fair, there are a few things we need to consider. First, Picard is talking with a scientist who has just suggested that they construct a lie. A lie which will impact an alien culture for generations upon generations. It's possible that Picard is simply flabbergasted at the thought of tricking a people into believing a false religion and a false god. In theory, he may not be against true belief, just that of the unjustified. I'll be honest, I think this theory is unlikely. It's easy to discount given how vitriolic he is when presented with an idea that people move out of quote-unquote rational thinking into religion. And while you can have a few small continuity issues, generally there's nothing that counters Picard's feelings here. As a diplomat, he likely wouldn't go out of his way to say that being religious is dumb or that you need to be rational. But In his heart of hearts, and when he's alone or with someone he trusts, he's a bit more honest. We really get to see what he believes when he's in a private and stressful situation. So for the most part, I would argue that he's just being truthful here. However, while I do hate the way he acts when presented with this information, I don't think I blame him.
You're dead. This is the afterlife. And I'm God.
You are not God.
We do need to consider what the captain has experienced. He is constantly meeting entities that can imitate all of the abilities of what we consider to be a god. In some cases, he knows that these quote-unquote godlike beings are just individuals with more advanced technology, and so they really aren't gods in the classical sense. Additionally, as a cultured man and well-read, he likely realizes that humanity tends to have a proclivity to call things that they can't understand supernatural. And so, as an educated man, he may have a little bit of resistance to being open to things unseen. Hell, looking at it from that angle, when we dissect both the original series and the Next Generation, Starfleet is constantly coming into contact with governments and individuals that have semi-phenomenal, nearly cosmic powers. It happens almost every week. The Enterprise and other ships interact with people who could quite clearly be classified as gods. The Q, Organians, the Prophets, Trelane, Apollo, the Metrons, and on and on. Now, to be clear, some of these entities are limited in their godlike powers, while others don't seem to have any inhibitions. And even with all these experiences, it's clear that Starfleet hasn't even scratched the edges of what could be done, or who they might meet. When you think about it, given everything that happens in the universe of Trek, it could be logical to assume that, well, ultimately, the natural progression of an organism is to become a powerful being. And I think that's probably where Picard lies. Hell, we can just look at his views on the afterlife.
Which do you believe, sir?
Considering the marvelous complexity of the universe, its clockwork perfection, its balances of this against that, I believe that our existence must be more than either of these philosophies.
Ultimately, I think that Picard is an atheist that believes that humanity is just a few thousand generations away from the next step. This informs how he acts and explains his disdain for beliefs that would deviate from obtaining perfection. And let's talk about pen pals for a moment. From everything that we can see, Jean-Luc believes wholeheartedly in the Prime Directive. It is the guiding principle of which people should live their lives. And because of it, it's why he, more than not, is willing to let entire worlds die to preserve these thoughts, these, again, well, ideals. It seems like he believes that humanity itself has to cling to tenets so that they can get to the final form. And this is why I think that Picard as an atheist is written pretty poorly. The premise is an interesting one and has promise. Humanity trying to improve itself to become more than the sum of its parts, but also atheistic and doesn't believe that there is necessarily a heaven, but you become your own god. But the way Picard is written, it's not a hope or an attempt to gain knowledge and grow or being open to getting to that place he wants to be. He has just decided to reject religion and become his own god. He chooses the sacred texts he believes will get him where humanity needs to go, and decides that everything else is worthless. And because of this, in a lot of the episodes where he acts superior, it's not really a good look. He chooses an ideal over, well, if you'll forgive the irony here, being human. It's unfortunate too, because while I think the presentation of how Picard is portrayed as an atheist is very poor, it didn't really have to be. As I've discussed, Starfleet has encountered beings of immense power, but not only that, they've witnessed these beings become more powerful. I would have loved to seen episodes with discussions on how humanity might evolve into the Q. It would have been interesting to see how religion plays a part in that, if there was a way to involve a belief in a god and still become one. Unfortunately, Picard was written under the purview of Roddenberry, which would ensure that we would never get those nuanced takes. At the end of the day, I guess Picard really is a religious man. He has an idea, one that actually could be a good one, but goes about instituting it wrong and hurting people along the way. And then again, I guess all of you guys are going to point out how there was a Christmas tree in Generations, so that automatically disproves this entire video essay. Proves he's a Christian. Thank God.